Hello.
Hi.
Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me at all?
Good evening.
Hey, we're there. Let's, well, it's 5:31 here. We're missing Chris and we're missing Lauren. We'll give them another minute or so. We'll just start because we have a quorum.
Chris is here.
Chris is here?
Just
Okay,
takes a
great.
minute for him to be promoted to a panelist. I don't know why.
As soon as Chris gets on, we can start.
There you go.
Hello.
Hey, Chris.
Hi.
Okay, we got Chris now. So we'll just, I'm sure Lauren will hop on here at some point, but let's just for sake of speed tonight, I guess we'll just start. So this is 5:32. And this is our February meeting. Welcoming you. So let's do, Chris, let's do roll call here.
All right. Roll call. Patrick.
Present.
Carol.
Present.
Lauren.
Absent so far.
Ruby.
Present.
Margaret.
Present.
All right. And myself present. And I'll mark Lauren when she arrives.
Great, thank you. The minutes is next. Yeah, the only thing I could find is your first word, January spell wrong at the top there, but other than that, you were great.
All right. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So I move that the minutes of January 2023 be approved.
I second the motion.
Okay.
And Chris, Lauren is now on.
Oh, great. I will
Yeah,
mark Lauren.
I can't find, my video's not working, but anyway.
All right, Lauren, so there was just a motion to approve the minutes by Carol and seconded by Ruby, and we're about to vote on that. Did you have anything you wanted to add before we move to a vote?
No.
Patrick,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yeah.
Ruby,
Yes.
Margaret?
Yes.
All right, motion passes.
Great, thank
Just
you.
want to say, Chris, you did a fantastic job. Those are
Yeah,
the
it's a lot of
best minutes I've ever read.
Let's wait till the next one. Yeah, great, excellent. And Mr. Abrams is here. Yes, great. Ed, you got a friends report for us?
Not much to say. We're
Okay,
still
thank you.
putting stuff out. People are taking books. They're not leaving money, but we invite them to do that. I don't want to say the summer weekenders are more generous. We make more money when they're here. Otherwise, nothing. We keep putting out books. We're actually getting a lot of donations. People are still cleaning out their homes. Right now, we're running a Valentine's Day book lovers fiction sale, and which I think we're going to do every month. We'll do some different theme until we can get outside again. That's pretty much all we got.
Okay, thank you. Thanks. Samara, director's report.
Okay, January statistics, Libby Overdrive, ebook, e-audio, e-magazine, source 2,108 checkouts, Mason circulation, again, all items from all libraries, including interlibrary loan, 7,658 checkouts, Ramsdell, same situation, 999. Our Mason in-person visitors number 3,057. Again, this number does not include the front door, which is, a significant portion of it. But the people counter sent us a new people counter because the old people counter kept resetting itself. So hopefully this one cooperates, but it was put on 2 days ago. So hopefully we'll have a nice real big number next month. Ransdell in-person visitors 353. The current,
I'm sorry, I didn't receive a report. Did you send one?
I sent it to everybody.
I didn't receive it either, Patrick.
I didn't get it either.
Now, I sent this about a week ago. Because, well, I can check again. I sent it because Samara sent it early to us because we thought we were having a meeting. So she sent it way before that. So literally, it might have been 2 weeks ago I sent it to you. But I'll send it to you again. If you didn't get it, I can't look right now.
I'm sorry.
But, and I apologize for that if it's not my fault, but I'll check. But I'll send it to you again anyway. I guess the only thing I'll say is these statistics are important to us here because what libraries are doing now is they're kind of going back and looking at 2019 numbers, 2020 numbers, and see where we are on things. So just to give you a snapshot of that, in January 2020, Ramsdell was at 528. That's important because that was the month before COVID really started. So 528 was what it was for Ramsdell. We're down to 353 now. That's significant because we should be crawling back up. Mason's harder to calculate, as Samara said, but in January of 2020, we were at 10,752. So, and just to give you a sampling of the circulation, if we're at 7,658 at Mason, we were at 11,415 in January of 2020. Circulation, Ramsdell, currently, or last month, $999. And it was 1,166, January 2020. So we have to kind of be real mindful of this now, because we've got target numbers where we should really be back in that ball game, or close to it. We'll have to just think about that. We're gonna have to take a look at that to see what has changed, who's not coming in, why they're not coming in, or something. But it's pretty significant. And most libraries are crawling back. Some of them slower than others. Some of them have, surpassed what they had. There was, I think it was Rojan Library had a 50%. This might be the wrong statistic, so I shouldn't say it. But I think it was a 50% increase in library cards, over the course of a couple of years. So, and that's a small library, small district. So. Anyway, that's just something to keep in mind, because that's where we need to start spending some time, is figuring out what we can do here to re-engage the community. And I saw one long-range report, and that's what they actually, the title of the long-range report was something like that, of just re-engaging the community, finding a way to reconnect with the community. So I think all libraries were all in the same boat. So anyway, that's that. Let's just, didn't mean to interrupt Samara there, so let's just go back to what she has there for this month's, for the January report. Sorry, Samara.
No problem. I'm gonna go a little out of order on my report, but I guess that doesn't matter to anyone. Just some updates about what's going on. It's February, it's Black History Month, and it was also recently Valentine's Day. So we have book displays up reflective of this. We chose to do contemporary stories by Black authors this month to do something different and bring some new literature into the eye of our patrons. And we also have a blind date with a book, where the book is wrapped up and it tells you what genre it is. It's a graphic novel, it's a romance, poetry, and all of the books in the blind date with a book display are love stories by Black authors. Recent, current, and upcoming events, programs, and happenings. Recently in Mason's children's department, and I should know, but I don't know how this went because I was away and I need to check in on it, but a new baby time program started on Saturday the 3rd in conjunction with CHP, and with the with literacy starting at infancy being the kind of core value of it. There was also a Valentine's card making event in the children's department on Saturday the 11th. There was also upstairs at Mason passive programming, Valentine's card making on Saturday the 11th, Monday the 13th, and Tuesday the 14th, and at Ramsdell also on Tuesday the 14th. The Sci-Fi Book Club, which did not have participants in its initial gathering in the fall, developed a kind of interest in following after that one, and it met again on Saturday the 11th, and there are 2 and growing, I'd say, dedicated members of that book club. So that's kind of a fun thing happening at Ramsdell. Currently, it's also National Library Lovers Month, and at all the libraries there are hearts available where you can write on them what you love about your public library, and then we post them. I'm pointing here because they're outside my office right here. Someone yesterday wrote that public libraries are, there's nothing more punk rock than a public library, so that's posted up there. So it's kind of a fun way for patrons to tell us what they love about the libraries. Been doing the VITA, Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program, done through Habitat for Humanity, on Tuesdays from 3:30 to 6 p.m. at Mason, and it has been a tremendous success, I would say. Today I heard from Tanya Frazier, who's the VITA person who is running it, and she says that it is by far the largest outcome that they've ever had in South County. With kind of Christine and Donna, who are here on Tuesday afternoons. I'm at Ramsdale. They are working on a kind of waiting room area and traffic flow and whatnot. So that's I'm just very glad that the library is a great space for that to take place. The Le Petit Museum of Free Art continues at Ramsdale, and it's fun to kind of check in on it every month because the art is certainly rotating. People are creating more art and putting it up. People are taking art. So that's doing what it should be. And upcoming, we have, I don't know if you saw the marketing for it, a Masons Writers Group developing. We made that a 10 person cap because our community room is currently out of commission. And so the history room, that's the threshold number that room can take. And now we're on a wait list registrants. So they will be meeting for the first time March 18th to kind of establish themselves and get their process going. And I'm working with the person who is kind of spearheading that, a patron, just to, make sure it's all organized and we get the word out and all of that.
Mara, is that different from the powder keg meeting that they had before?
Yes, that was the Ramsdale Writers Group?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, that was before I was here, but what I know about it is that it kind of I think it was quite a dedicated group, but I think it kind of disbanded or maybe went online during COVID, and it is different than that. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, the other things on my agenda here, and I kind of want to do it as you guys want to, is I'd like to talk about displays and exhibits, to give you an update on our display case, give you an update on what Ed and I are coming up with for exhibits at the library, and also to revisit the policy, which I would love to get underway, so that, because it kind of has a process and an application in it that will kind of, then some displays and exhibits that we have in abeyance can move forward. I also wanted to talk about Ticket Keeper, which is the museum online ticketing system that we would like to use here. And also on the agenda was the FY23 budget, which was probably not shared with you because it was part of the or you probably don't have, because it was part of the package of, so it's kind of hard to speak to. Then maybe I should skip that for this month. I'm not sure.
Samara, actually I just sent that to everybody. I apologize, I can't find it in my sent box, folks. It could be, I use 3 different computers, so it could be in one of the other ones. But Samara, that budget wasn't in that packet that I got. So we'll all need it. Unless it was it in the form, what was there was what our usual, the usual monthly thing was, as far as I could tell.
So in that PDF that I sent, it's the second page is the budget.
Okay, so that was the budget for the next fiscal year?
No, that's this current, our current.
Okay, come where we are now. Yeah.
I can walk us through that. I mean, the first part, the non-expendable trusts, is not, we don't touch that. So it's sitting there. We can touch the expendable trusts. As you can see, you can have it at there's the column with the beginning of the fiscal year, and the 123 2023 is the updated number. The bottom total, it has increased slightly from interest. The donation accounts have also increased slightly, mostly from donations, which are often received at, at the end of the calendar year. The state grant money is there. That's there's another disbursement coming, so that will be, I believe it was March or April, I think April, that the second disbursement comes, so that excuse me, number in the second column will increase at that time. And then to the right is the line item budget of where what our budget was, what we've spent, and where things stand as of the 23rd of January, 2023.
Okay, thank you for that.
Mhm. So I'll move on to the display case and exhibit update. Currently in the display case, and will be in February and March, is an exhibit that Bernie Drew has put together for the library about Dr. May Edward Chin, you may have read about recently in the Eagle, a very impressive, incredible person who was the first to do many things, the first African-American woman to graduate from what is today called NYU Medical School, to ride with patients in ambulances, was instrumental in the creation of the Pap smear, and she was born in Great Barrington. And it's just the display has some artifacts and very accessible, readable information about who she was. So that will be up for both Black History Month and Women's History Month in March. Then come April and May, Stephanie Blumenthal, who is an artist and I'd say artist activist, will be creating a display that will shift between the 2 months, but the common theme of the display is reuse, recycle, and refuse. She does a display at Sheffield Library as well, and so I'm excited for that display to come as well. Several people, and by several I mean 2, people have reached out about having artwork exhibits at Mason Library, and Ed has kindly expressed to me a few times that he was interested in potentially working on some projects at the library. And so I asked him if artwork exhibits would be something that we could work on together. And he said yes. So we are going to work together to put up artwork of patrons who would like to show their artwork at the library. Currently there are this would be in the main reading room, and as you'll recall, there's currently many lovely photographs of W.E.B. Du Bois on loan to us at the library, and those, I think what we'll do is we will intermittently take them down and put them carefully in storage when we exhibit a patron's artwork, and then put them back up and all of that. I would really, last month, we talked about the display and exhibit policy, which really kind of speaks to, gives an application and a process for people who want to exhibit their artwork here. So I've kind of put them at abeyance while we finalize that. And then when it is finalized, we'll reach out to them and let them know that I'm working in conjunction with Ed on these exhibits, and that we'd love for them to, fill out the application, and we will start the process of getting their artwork displayed. So last time when we discussed this, as I recall, and maybe, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think that the 2 points of discussion were if on the application, if or if not, a bio of the artist should be included, and if not, a explanation of the exhibit should be included. And I didn't add them. I am so happy to add them, but I wasn't quite sure from the conversation of last meeting if I should or not. In the packet in the report packet that was sent, there is a link to the that highlighted blue portion. There is a link to our current display and exhibit policy as it stands, and then after the budget is the revised one.
You know, Samara, I always find it interesting when the artist writes a little bio about themselves and also the main theme of the exhibit. I always find that interesting, no matter which museum you go to read up on, you know, the thoughts behind the exhibit. So I certainly agree with having that in place if at all possible, unless the artist really does not want to do it.
So that part is a part of the policy. The exhibitor must supply the libraries with biographical information and description of the display or exhibit for use in library publications. It was more on the application, I think, that, and again, I might be remembering this wrong or incorrectly, that the question of whether those elements should be there or not. Again, I'm happy to add them or not, but definitely I agree, Ruby. I always love to hear who's created this and what their inspiration or impetus for doing it was, and that we do ask them to provide us with. And we have it with, you know, like with the Foils War model that was in the display case. It was, you know, there was an artist statement of, you know, why he created this, and it was also during COVID and the story behind it. So
Right.
I love that stuff too.
Yeah. And I would agree with you that it would be nice to have that information in the application, just so we have an understanding. It doesn't have to be extensive, but there should be something. I don't think it has to be a full, you know, it could be just a paragraph just to tell us.
I can add that. I mean, I don't know. It's up to everyone, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm happy to add it. If we decide to add it, I might ask if it would be all right that we vote to, that you would vote to approve the policy if you do, contingent on me adding yada da and da da da, just so that we could bring it through and make it live before the next meeting. But that's,
Do you think that
just
it
me.
would prevent people from applying because we want all that information? Sometimes it kind of prevents people from doing it.
It might. I mean, I always worry about barriers to and it also, I don't think that their bio and their description can or should have bearing on whether they would exhibit or not.
That's true. I do agree with that. So maybe not.
But it would be in the exhibit. It would be there that they.
But not in the application.
Mhm.
I'm just wondering if it's not in the application, so you wouldn't need it in order to apply, but would it be implicit that once you put up your artwork, that we would like that to go along with it?
It's more than implicit. It's in the policy that they provide that.
Yeah, so I don't know that they necessarily need to put it in the application. I mean, yeah. I mean, you're already going to curate to a certain extent anyway, right? Because you're not gonna, right, there has to be some,
We really
Well,
can't as a public library.
something that's gonna, like, you're not gonna let somebody put in, I don't know, like things that would be offensive, basically, right? Somebody's gonna curate that.
Yeah,
Sorry
and we have
about
talked about
that.
this because, one person's pornography is another person's art. So this gets to tricky stuff, I think, like Supreme Court kind of stuff. But and maybe this is not the right way of doing it, but I don't foresee someone submitting something that's hugely offensive or provocative. If it is, I think we have to, well, we'd have to talk about all of that. But we also are, as a public library, we can't discriminate in one way or another.
Okay,
Does
I
this need
mean-
more discussion? I mean, we could take this out of the meeting tonight. Maybe a few of you should get together and come up with something for this. I mean, is there a motion? It's not a motion on the floor. Ruby, do you want to make a motion on something for this?
I'm fine with the policy as written.
Okay,
I would move to approve it.
I would approve, I would make a motion to approve of the present policy and application.
okay, good. So let's, there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Great. Chris, why don't you do the honors on this?
All right, so a motion to approve the policy as submitted by the library director. Take the vote now. Patrick,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Lauren,
yeah,
Ruby,
Yes,
Margaret.
Yes.
All right, motion passes.
Excellent, thank you. Anything else, Samara?
An additional thing that I wanted to talk about was Ticket Keeper. It's an online museum pass ticketing system that allows patrons to reserve online and print their own passes, or to use a QR code that's in a text or email. Patrons can also come to the library to do the reservation if they would like, or to pick up a physical pass if they don't have a printer or prefer to do that. There's a lot of because the passes are available for 24 hours, because there's such a need and desire for them, there's a lot of patron frustration, which becomes also staff frustration in wanting to pick up a museum pass that we don't quite know that 24-hour mark, nor do we know when something's late, a day late, but we don't have it down to the minute. So people will come waiting for something to be returned 24 hours later, and they might be waiting. In any case, I can get into kind of more details of how it causes some angst and frustration among patrons and staff, but a online ticketing system will mitigate all of that because it's all done online and the computer keeps track of it. It is used and recommended by Lenox Library and the Berkshire Athenaeum. Talia and I recently did a demo with Drew of Ticket Keeper. It's very user-friendly and intuitive. It is also not that expensive. It is $600 annually, and that includes the implementation, the training, and ongoing support. We don't, however, have money in our budget to add things without shifting services, shall we say. So a service that we are questioning its need is Canopy, which is a movie streaming service. We have a monthly program with them. It's a kind of pay-as-you-go system. Patrons are limited to 10 plays per a patron. And each time a patron watches something on Canopy, the library is billed anywhere from $2 to $4. And that's each time. So, you know, when I think about a book, it's reused and reused and reused. That $29.99 or whatever we paid for that hardcover book, it gets a lot of use out of it. Whereas this is specific to the patron. So each time they watch something, the library pays $4. That's up to $160 a month. That's the cap that we have. So once we reach that cap, which we had actually never done before and only did last month for the first time in the about year that the library has had this, patrons can no longer access it because we reached our threshold. Prior to, well, that doesn't matter. So we're kind of put in a funny position of marketing it because I think, you know, the highest we had ever come to that $160 threshold was in September at $100. And back in June, there was $34. So, you know, people weren't, but then we marketed it and we went beyond the threshold. So it puts us in a kind of funny position as to how we want patrons to know about this. We want them to utilize it, but not too much, you know. There's also been some issues with IP addresses that are not within the Great Barrington, whatever IP parameters, that it not working for them. And I think the kind of the biggest point really is that that Canopy is available to anyone with a Boston Public Library e-card, which anyone in the state of Massachusetts with a library card can do. So I wonder why the Great Barrington libraries are paying additionally for something that all our patrons can use through BPL. So the proposal here is really that we would like to go forward with Ticket Keeper as our museum pass ticketing system and to phase out Canopy, which patrons can get through BPL.
I like your reasoning, Samara, and I've used Canopy a couple of times, but I had no idea that the library was getting charged for that. And if I had known, I probably wouldn't have bothered because, you know, I can do other streaming services, you know, Netflix or whatever. So I appreciate you telling me.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, there was no, you didn't tell your patrons it was costing the library per view.
No.
So that's important information.
You can also, Carol, get Canopy on BPL's budget, which I'm sure is much larger than ours.
Right. That's why
Yeah.
I think your reasoning is very sound. I just want to say I agree with your proposal.
Okay, thanks.
But hang on a second. We need to know what the limitations are on the BPL card because they you don't have carte blanche on that. So do we know what that is?
I don't know what the
so-
maximum plays are per patron.
Okay, and do we know what our data is? Like how many patrons we have using this or that have used it? Do we know how many have? Is it?
I can look that up.
Okay,
I
so
can
why
look
don't
it up
we?
easily, but not so easily that I can do it right now in live time. And
Gotcha.
you know,
Why
give you
don't we
the
just table this till next month? Because those are two very important questions because our patrons may feel very differently about this. So why don't we check on that first?
Is there a limit per patron?
10 plays
Oh, 10.
for ours. I don't know if BPL has.
10 play, what time period? 10
Within
plays
a
in what
month.
time period? 10 plays a month? That's generous.
So someone could spend $40, which is a quarter. One patron could spend $40,
Yeah.
which means you would basically, if they used all 10, you would only have 4 patrons for the whole month.
Yes, not every play is $4. It ranges from 2 to 4, but
Yeah.
yes, if they watched all $4 new release stuff, yeah.
Do you get a
So-
breakdown of what they are watching? I mean, as far as the price of it, so it would tell you X amount of use the $4 movies and X amount of use the $2 movies. You get that, those numbers? Okay, those would be great for us to take a look at. then.
We have that information. You can watch 4 videos per month with Canopy through BPL. So it's just a slight reduction.
Yes.
So do you think maybe if we keep it, but limit instead of 10 to limit it to more like 4 a month, then more patrons would be able to get on it?
We could, I'm kind of interested in this financial swap of using the money allocated for Canopy on something that I think will better serve our patrons with Ticket Keeper.
Oh,
How many library passes? I mean, how many different programs are we in?
On the library passes,
Yeah,
I know we have Clark Museum
yeah,
and
I'm looking.
It's sort of a separate question, but the passes, I think, are all bought by the Friends.
Yes,
And we haven't spent a lot of money in the last year because of COVID.
right.
We could, with as a separate question, we could, if there aren't enough, we could buy more probably. I know they're not cheap, but we do have the funds.
Great. In addition to
then-
Clark, we have Mass MoCA, the Botanical Gardens, the parks, and I think we used to have Berkshire Museum, but haven't. I think maybe that fell off since COVID. I was told that also that the Friends or Holly maybe was quite interested in using this system. So I thought that maybe if we went forward with this system, that maybe we could talk about, with this new system, which passes we want to use and maybe expand a little, or I don't know what.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, great.
now, but this would just be for Mason then, correct? So people from Housatonic or whatever would have to go to Mason to do this online?
No,
This
that's
would
the
mitigate
beauty.
that.
No,
Right.
Yeah.
so they could be any place. All right, so what if they're not from our town though? Is that if they borrow somebody's card or something, are we opening ourselves to everybody jumping on our stuff?
If someone is going to borrow their friend's card and pretend that they're,
Yeah,
Samara Klein and use my library card, then yes, that could happen.
Well, as it is, anyone, I mean, it's
Yeah.
the same as now, but they just have to show up and pick it up.
right.
I mean, they could also borrow, take my card and borrow a hotspot or, whatever. I mean, there's, possibilities to
Yeah.
the system always, I guess.
I would just suggest waiting at least a month or so because you'd have to get the word out and try to sign our patrons up for Boston for BPL cards. We'd have to try to make that much more user friendly so that because some people will depend on those streaming thing. And so to just cut them off cold turkey without just saying, no, here's how we're going to do this. So I think we need a plan to convert them to the BPL program. So it's a smooth transition because people are trying to save money, and right now they may not be going to the museums as much as they're streaming for the winter. So I think without polling our patrons on how they feel about some of these things, I think we should at least just wait a month and just try to convert them to the BPL program as much as we can. So I make a motion.
Always
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
we're always encouraging patrons to get a BPL e-card because, I mean, I have all of the library consortiums and BPL on my Libby because if a book's not available in CW Mars, then I go to BPL, I go to Clams, I go to all of them. I mean, that's,
Yeah. Well, let's just,
I was just speaking to a colleague today who, who said that showing people how to do that is one of her favorite
yeah. Well,
things at the
let's just,
library, because
let's just see here with the trustees here, just raise your, I guess, raise your hand if you have a BPL card. Does anybody have one? Ed has one. Samara has one. Ruby, you have one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah. So again, I think we should just really get the word out. We should put something in the Edge or something and massively get the word out, to do this. Because I mean, the people that are fans of sitting at home and watching TV, these are different people than are going to drive up to the Clark.
I don't think the data supports that evaluation. It
How's
sounds
that?
like you're creating a problem that doesn't exist.
No, but I think we have, how many times do you go to the Clark a year?
6, 7.
Yeah, that's unusual. I mean, people are trying to save their money.
Yeah, but again, we're using anecdotal evidence. We just heard the numbers support moving this. I would support this policy.
I think you'll have to leave it up to the patrons. I think we have to help them,
I think the patrons who elected us are asking us to do that.
I don't know. Is there a harm in waiting another month and
Uh,
getting the word out?
I don't know. It just feels like we get an intelligent and well thought out policy, and then we sit on it for a month. And
No, it's sitting on it for 30 days isn't going to kill anybody, but getting the word out would really help. And it may help our staff if people say, what happened to Canopy? And
Yeah, what I don't understand is if it's so popular and people use it, why are we canceling it? Because of monetary reasons? Is that it?
Well, it's only been popular last month for the first time ever. And there we exceeded our threshold, so we have to cut people off. Once we exceed which is what we're budgeted not to spend more than $160 a month. And what I'd love for us to provide a bazillion services and resources at the library, but of course our budget, it keeps us somewhat constrained. So I'm looking at it. I think it would really benefit our patrons and also staff to have Ticket Keeper. And I'm looking at our budget to see what seems redundant, what seems what can we remove from this budget to put something that will better serve our community in its place.
What about getting, we're in budget discussions, can't the Canopy budget go up?
The budget has been submitted and approved, and it's I'm afraid that's over. And we work.
But there's an actual line that tells you that for Canopy, or does it come out of a bigger pot?
It comes out of one of the line items. Budget is one of or Canopy is one of the line items in a newly created line item called subscriptions. That was included in the FY24 budget, which was made to, we worked very hard to keep that the same as the FY23 budget, because our personnel line is going up, and we really wanted to show the finance committee and the community that that's where we need to grow in the library right now. So the other line items stayed the same, the operating costs, and Canopy is in there at $160 a month. Nobody else, only us internally see that. Nobody else cares what the kind of delineations of subscription are. So it is a bigger pot, but we're looking to swap that $160 a month for a $600 service. Does that make sense?
But the other service isn't in subscriptions, right?
There are other services and subscriptions that
No, the ticket issue.
that's not in there. No, it's
So
not. in there.
I don't know why we're making an equivalency here.
because we need to take one dollar amount out to add another dollar amount in.
Samara, my concern is that the movie, The Canopy, you could watch it from your own house. So for a lot of people who are homebound or who have very poor transportation that can't go to museums, it is a godsend for them.
But
Whereas
they can do it through, but her point is Boston Public Library provides it.
A patron could be shown how to enroll through Boston Public Library for the Canopy service. They
right,
won't lose it. They just will have to know how to enroll.
And Canopy is all digital, so we're not creating a divide between people who have digital access and people who don't. This is all in the digital realm to begin with.
yeah. So it may take a few months for people to switch over to get a card. I mean, it's relatively easy to do it, but if you don't go to the library, you don't know about it. You know what I mean? So if we can take a month or two just to educate people and so they can learn to use a different venue for what they like, I think it's still worthwhile rather than just cut it. I'm curious on how many people actually get tickets to go to these museums. How do you have a number of how popular that is?
I don't have a number, and it's all it certainly predates me, and it really predates COVID
Yeah.
because so many museums were closed. But I mean, I can say anecdotally, for whatever that's worth, that the staff tells me they're really in high demand, and that it's really, in the summer especially, people are, showing up at the library before the doors open to get their tickets or their, passes.
I'd like to
I mean,
move.
if you think about the Clark, it's like $25, I think, for an entrance fee, maybe Mass MoCA. You bring a family of 3 and, next thing you know, you dropped $100. It's a lot of money.
Yeah. Could I move that we table this till next month? Because I think it is more of a summer thing when it passes, but if it's not, we're never going to get through this agenda. It's already 6:21. So I just suggest we table this. So is there a second to table this till next month?
I second tabling it till next month.
And I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to leave. So I'm going to cut out now.
Okay, Carol, bye-bye.
Bye.
But I would propose that we work on educating all the different ways of getting movies through online using different cards. I mean, I think that education is really important. Even printing out something that we can pick up when we go get a book would be helpful.
Yes, I believe we do have a one sheet on digital connectivity at the front, at the circulation desks. And it's really, the librarians who work at the circulation desk, this is a huge part of what they do. They educate patrons on how to access.
I triggered a fire alarm.
No, they turned it off. You're good. Okay. That was Carol. She's leaving. This is a big part of what librarians here do, is tell our patrons of how they can access materials and resources.
Okay.
So anyway, there's a motion on the floor here. Chris, you want to do the honors on this?
We have a motion to table discussion on Tix Keeper and Canopy budget line move. Patrick,
Yes.
Carol is absent. Lauren,
Yes.
Ruby,
Yes.
Margaret,
Yes,
and me, nay. So 1 nay, motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Let's see here. I'm just confused now with this budget for next year, Samara, because usually the trustees spend an extensive amount of time on this, especially in February and into March. So you just said this had already been approved?
This had, I shared it with you at the last meeting.
Yeah, that was the
Um,
draft though, right? Oh, the
That
draft
was,
proposal.
it was then given the thumbs up by the folks.
I think
on
as a,
call and
as a draft, because usually this goes through some iterations like this discussion tonight, as Margaret brought up something, we're trying to take something out of a line item that we don't know what's there. So you're saying this was, it was a draft that we passed last month. So, but now you're saying the draft is the final version?
Well, I can tell you that there are budget meetings that you are, I believe, all free and welcome to join. They are Tuesday, February 28th, Wednesday, March 1st, Tuesday, March 7th, Wednesday, March 8th, and then the public hearing will take place Wednesday, March 22nd.
Can you give it, those are all involving the library's budget?
Those are all the budget meetings that I have been told I should be present at, so I guess so.
Give
you-
me a minute, I'll look up when the libraries will be.
You can?
Yeah, I think so.
Thank
Keep
you.
talking.
While we're on dates, I just want to tell you that on the 27th of this month, is that next Monday? It is, right? Okay, not next Monday.
A
but the
week
week
from Monday,
after.
yeah. Yeah.
At the select board meeting on that date, we will be bringing the fine-free executive summary to the select board.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll wait till Ed gets back to us on those meetings, which is good information. So I'm gonna try to speed through here. It's 6:25 now. As everybody knows now that Ramsdale for the first time is eligible for the state construction money. This money comes up very rarely. They've changed the plans. I think they're more flush with money because of stimulus money and things like that. We've worked hard on Ramsdale for years now. We've done every possible thing, building plans, archaeological studies, everything else. So we're actually positioned, we're in front of a lot of libraries who haven't done any of this stuff. So the town would have to send a letter of intent, and it doesn't obligate them to anything. That's April 28th, at 4 o'clock. And what would happen is then another year goes by because there's more things that have to occur in that time. Then by a year from then that would be when the town would have to apply if they're going to do it. The range of money here is essentially it's millions of dollars. They're flush with money. So sake of argument, just say that Ramsdale costs $5 million to fix. The grant would pay $3 million, and there's some add-ons. If it's green building, you can get up to about 500,000 more. There's something called a need factor each town has, and Ed may know what that is. Whatever the need factor is, then that's other percentage that's added to it too. So we're talking about just a lot of money, which otherwise we're never going to have the money to fix Ramsdale if it doesn't come from this kind of grant. It's not money that can be spent on Housatonic water. It's not money that can be spent on the high school. It's money that can only be spent on libraries. So this is our chance, maybe the one chance to fix Ramsdale, because if that building hasn't been renovated since 1928 in a meaningful way, it's not gonna, if there's another grant program, say 7 or 8 years from now, it may be too late for Ramsdale at that point. The other thing is, if the town applies next year when this comes up, their building wouldn't even start until about 2026 at the earliest. So even though the money's there, it's kind of a long ways out. The library commissioners are well aware of Ramsdale. Some of them have actually been in it. And they did a great job with the Monterey Library. Some of us, I know Ed, you were up there for that. They actually let Monterey Library jumped a lot of the others because they had done what I said. We followed Monterey's program. They started doing the programs that they're necessary to get the grant before the grant came in. So then when the grants were announced, Monterey was ahead of everybody, and it wasn't what the regulations said, but they shot them in there, and they've done a great job on it. So anyway, that's that at this point. I mean, Ed, select board, that's mostly, this is going to have to come from you guys, and I hope you support this. Just, I'm trying to speed along here. Just for a second, I want you to think, and Ed, you could really help us on this. That libraries, especially in some states, have really pushed this idea because of climate changes libraries being, it's a public health situation, they're calling it, that libraries are really kind of open door places when it's for warming stations or cooling stations as it comes. So God forbid we have a lot of these, but the thing is, I put this in there this week because I talked to a woman and she was freaking out because she said she's got a decent low rent in Housatonic, but that's all the money she has. She said her electric bill was more than her rent this past month. And she's trying to figure out how she can survive because she's afraid she's going to get cut off by everybody. So the thing is, the idea is, if people know they can go into our libraries, both of them, for example, and turn on their heat even a little bit, or stay where it's warm for all day or whatever, or into the night if it's really that severe, we've got to do this for our people. And same thing when it's involved with cooling. We'd have to work on a program with volunteers. It's not necessarily that the library would be open for business, but it would just be open possibly after hours. Look, that last thing was on a weekend, for example. But I think we just have to prepare ourselves for this stuff. It's not even much. I know with cooling, libraries make sure they have a couple cases of bottled water in there, for example. But anyway, I think it's just, it will help this woman, for example. Maybe she could have turned off her space heaters and gone into the library if she had thought about it or knew it was open to her. So anyway, it's more of a long range thing. It's hopefully we won't need it for a while. Maybe the next thing will be, we're going to be worried about people staying cool enough. But Ruby, perhaps you can help us on something like this, because the public health aspect of it. And then certainly, I think somehow there's got to be some money in the budget it might take just a little bit of money to make this happen. So I just open this up for you for thought at this point. But again, for sake of time, we'll just leave that on the floor for now. Unless anybody has a fast comment on that.
A couple of quick things. First of all,
Sure.
yeah, the budget meeting is February 2nd at 6 o'clock, where they're talking about the library.
Wait, February what?
Second, no, I'm sorry, that would be wrong, wouldn't it? Oh, I hope I'm not looking at last year's. Hold on. Oh, yeah, yes. This is what's on the, okay. I'll let Samara know and she can send an email to you guys
Thanks.
tomorrow. What's on the is still last year's.
Mhm.
A quick thing on the building thing. I got your email about that, Pat, and I brought it up to Mark, who also said he had gotten an email from you. If he doesn't talk to you soon, send an email to the two of us saying, why don't the three of us sit down and start this?
Great.
I asked Chris about it because he's usually the go-to guy, and he suggested talking to Mark. And the other one, the town is involved in municipal vulnerability planning, MVP. And part of that is heating and cooling. So the libraries are a really good idea. And
Are you involved in that, Ed? Or is it?
I was in the first round of it. So I don't know where it is now, but that Chris will know that.
Chris will. Okay. Yeah, I think we should just, I guess, hate to say it, but prepare for the worst, right?
Yeah, and that's an easy one, assuming you guys get an air conditioner, of course.
Yeah. All right, that's great. Thank you, Ed.
And I have to run. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know. We're kind of running out of time here. I guess, do we know, this is, I guess, Samara thing. Did you talk to Joe Aberdale? This is about the windows of Ramsdell and.
Yes, I've requested to walk through both Ramsdell and Mason to discuss a few items at both libraries with Joe, but he has not been able to do that with me yet.
Okay. Let me know. I'm happy to join in on that too. I mean, Joe, he's like swimming upstream, right? And none of these are problems he's been around for, but he's got to fix all of them, you know? It's kind of awful place to be. All right, 6:32. We've kind of talked about finances, that's building and grounds. Is there any citizen speak? I don't believe, I think Marie was on, but Marie, would you like to speak? Or not? Okay, that's that. So I guess, again, I promised we'd try to get off here. So unless anybody else has anything else, I think we should call it a night then.
We didn't get a treasurer's report.
Treasurer's report. Sorry about that. think that's what Samara was reading, some of those numbers, I think. Is that,
There hasn't been a treasurer's report from me for a few months. It hasn't been called, and then I had to leave at 6:45 last month. And this month I never received any budget figures, so I can't give a report.
There you go.
okay, so
I see it. I see you just sent it, Pat. A
yeah, I
recent.
just said it, my fault on that. We'll pick that up next month then and take care of that. So unless there's anyone opposed, I think we can call it a night here. Anybody have anything else to add? No? Good, look at that, not bad, 4 minutes off. Everybody stay healthy. COVID is kind of kicking up again. I know at least it was, even with the Boston Symphony last week, there was all of a sudden 8 people had it in 2 days. Great. So stay healthy and we'll see you next month. And Ed, once we get those dates from Ed and Samara gets it, we'll send those out to you. Okay, have a good few weeks. Take care.
Thanks. See ya.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.